There's a hallway in a grand hotel where time seems to stop and the lights flicker. The air grows cold, and behind a sealed door marked 873, something watches. Guest whispers about cries in the night, bloody handprints that won't fade, and a room that no longer exists. Or does it? Welcome to Supernatural Signals, where the screen meets the spirits. Tonight, we're opening the door to one of Canada's most chilling hotel legends, room 873 at the Banff Springs Hotel. Tucked away in Canadian Rockies, the Banff Springs Hotel looks like it belongs in a gothic fairy tale. Built in the late 1800s by the Canadian Pacific Railway, it was meant to be a luxury stop for travelers. But somewhere between the snow-covered peaks and those endless stone corridors, something strange crept in. This place isn't just known for fancy fireplaces and mountain views. It's also crawling with ghost stories, and most not the friendly kind. Over the years, guests and staff have reported all kinds of unsettling things, such as shadow figures on the wall and phantom bellhops who vanish after offering to help with your bags, and unexplained cold spots in rooms that were definitely warm a minute ago. One spirit is said to be a bride who died on her wedding day. She apparently fell down a marble staircase and now floats through the ballroom like she's still waiting for her first dance. Which, let's be honest, is tragic and a little theatrical. But even among all the haunted tales echoing through these halls, one particular story stands out. A room so disturbing and so persistently haunted that the hotel tried to erase it from existence. That is room 873. Now, before we go into more details about this mysterious room, let's take a moment to touch on a few more of the lesser known, but just as unsettling stories that echo through these halls. For starters, there's a strange tale about a room that was never meant to exist. During the hotel's original construction in the late 1800s, a mistake led to creation of a completely sealed space. No windows, no doors, just four walls hidden away like a secret chamber. The room wasn't discovered until a fire in 1926, and by then stories had already begun to swirl. Guests who later stayed in the converted space reported eerie sounds, strange shadows, and a feeling that they weren't alone. Paranormal researchers believe that kind of accidental architecture, a place cut from light and time, might hold on to energy longer than most. Then there's room 692, which may not be as famous as 873, but it's built up quite a reputation of its own. Guests have reported being shoved in the night, having pillows yanked from beneath them, or walking up to a cold presence hovering nearby them. Some say the activity seems targeted, especially toward women traveling alone, which has made staff hesitant to book it out unless absolutely necessary. These aren't the stories you'll find in a hotel brochure. They are the whispers, the ones passed down between staff, exchanged on ghost tours, and shared late at night by people who swore they weren't the type to believe in this type of thing. But once you've heard them, it's hard to forget. Alrighty, so now that we have a better background of the hotel's mysterious hauntings, let's move into what you're probably really here for. More details of the legend of the room 873. Now, this is where things start to shift from a haunted hotel vibes to full-on we should not be here energy. Room 873, to begin with, was just an ordinary guest room. It was nothing out of the ordinary, but over time, unsettling reports started to trickle in. Guests started to claim to hear blood-curdling screams in the dead of night, saw bloody handprints on the bathroom mirror, and couldn't be cleaned off, no matter how many times they wiped them away. Some even swore they woke up to see the figures of a woman and a small child standing silently at the foot of their bed, just watching. So you're probably asking yourself, well, where'd the haunting stem from? Who was his mother and who was this child? Well, the legend goes that a man murdered his wife and young daughter in that very room before taking his own life. The details are murky, as ghost stories often are, but what never seemed to fade was the overwhelming sense that something terrible had soaked into the walls of that space and stayed there. You see, the activity became so intense, so consistently reported, that the hotel eventually made a decision: seal the room off completely. They bricked up the entrance, extended the hallway to cover it, and quietly removed 873 from the list of available rooms. These days, if you walk down the hallway where room 873 should be, something just feels off. The room numbers skip, and the walls look oddly patched. Guests have said they've seen the faint outline of the door, like it's still there, but not quite in our world anymore. And more than one person claims they knocked on that stretch of wall, and something on the other side knocked back. It's as if the room was never really gone, just hidden. And maybe, just maybe, what's ever in there is still listening. Alrighty, so now that we have a better understanding of what this room is all about, let's get into some eyewitness accounts and strange encounters. So, for a room that's not really there, a surprising number of people seem to have experience with it. Over the years, both guests and hotel staff have shared chilling stories, and while some have brushed it off as ghost hunting folklore, others are hard to shake. For instance, one former housekeeper claimed they were assigned to clean room 873, despite it supposedly being sealed off. When they arrived, the room looked normal at first, but as they worked, they noticed the lights kept flickering, and the bathroom mirror, it had faint smudges that looked like fingerprints. When they turned around to leave, the door slammed shut behind them and wouldn't open again for several minutes. This one confuses me a little bit because what exactly were they cleaning if the door was sealed off? How did they get there? But perhaps it was prior to sealing it off. That's the only thing I can think of. Anyway, another story continues. A guest once reported waking up in the middle of the night to a sound of a child crying softly near the foot of their bed. When they turned on the light, there was no one there, but they noticed small handprints on the wall near the headboard. The staff, of course, insisted no children had been booked into the adjacent rooms. Then, there are those who just feel something. Guests say the hallway where room 873 should have been has a heaviness to it. Some report sudden temperature drops, a strange sense of being watched, or the overwhelming urge to walk a little faster as they pass by that smooth, too perfect stretch of wall. One guest even claimed they took a photo of the hallway, and when they looked at it later, a faint image of a door was visible in the shot. A door that shouldn't exist. Of course, the hotel doesn't officially acknowledge any of this. In fact, if you ask about room 873 at the front desk, you'll likely get a polite smile and a quick subject change, which, let's be honest, only makes it more suspicious. Alrighty, so now I want to pivot quickly over to my personal thoughts and theories about this case. Because while digging into this place, what really caught me off guard wasn't just the haunting stories. It was how affluent the Banff Springs Hotel is. And it could be because it's quite out of my price range, but a 4-night stay, just to give you an idea, can run you close to $5,000. And honestly, just looking at the photos, it's easy to see why. It's stunning, like a castle carved into the Rockies. But that's the thing behind the luxury. Something feels hidden. See, some haunted hotels proudly wear their ghost stories, like the Menger Hotel in San Antonio, Texas, or the infamous Cecil. Now, the Menger, for instance, is someplace I used to frequent as a child during summer vacations. And usually there, the staff would tell me as a kid the ghost stories that went there, and me and my sister would sometimes run around the hallways trying to find ghosts and then spend our day swimming in the pool the rest of the time. The Cecil, on the other hand, is not a place that people want to go more than just because of the ghost stories. the location, the history, the sketchy area. There's many reasons not to go to the Cecil, besides just the ghost telling. But that's still something they advertise. That's still something that they're infamous for. They'll sell you ghost tours, plenty of hotels besides those two. They'll do themed rooms, the whole experience. But with the Banff Springs, they don't promote the hauntings. It's like they bury them, literally. They bricked it up, room 873, and rewrote the hallway like it never existed. That's not just brushing off a rumor. That's trying to erase it. And it made me wonder why. The story that is tied to room 873, the man who supposedly murdered his wife and daughter, is very vague. Strangely vague. There aren't many details. It's like he just unraveled with no backstory and no motive. And then there's the hotel itself. The construction was rocky from the beginning, literally. The original design plans were lost, and one of the first structures had to be demolished and rebuilt. And that sealed up room, it almost feels symbolic, like the hotel had been trying to patch over something from the start. So it makes me wonder if there's kind of a guilt tied to that foundation. This place was built on land that belonged to indigenous nations, the Stoney Nakoda, among others, and it was taken without permission like so much was in that era. Maybe the hotel doesn't want to dig too deep into the hauntings, not because they're afraid of ghosts, but because they're afraid of what those hauntings represent. Not just a tragic event, but a reckoning. A reflection of something they know is tied to how this building came to be. And let's be real, this building is very profitable. Perhaps there's some shame there, and perhaps they just don't want to breathe any more life into it, not just because might affect their reputation, but also bring more life into the hauntings. Personally, I think there might be a quiet guilt, a refusal by the hotel staff and ownership to acknowledge that this land was taken, repurposed, and built upon with little regard for its spiritual or cultural weight. Maybe the haunting isn't just supernatural. Maybe it's historical. And maybe they don't want to admit what they did was wrong, not just for their reputation's sake, but because deep down they know it was. They've made a fortune from that land. And maybe the silence, the sealed room, the missing history is just another way to cover up that guilt. Alrighty, thanks for watching Supernatural Signals, where the screen meets the spirits. If you enjoyed this dive into the strange, be sure to like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear if you'd ever stay in a place like this, or if you have your own hotel stories to share. You can also follow along on Instagram at supernatural_signals for updates, behind the scenes, and extra haunted goodness. Until then, stay curious and stay tuned into the supernatural. Thanks for watching.